Here's something nobody talks about. You already know what you need to do. You've known for weeks, maybe months. You've got the plan. You've got the vision. But every single day, you sit there and watch the clock tick while that goal collects dust. And the wild part, it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you're weak. It's because you've been lied to about how success actually works. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you a dead simple mental shift that top performers use to force themselves into action, even on the days they feel absolutely nothing. Miss this, and you'll keep watching your best years disappear. So stay with me, because what I'm about to share changes everything. One, the real power behind taking action. There is a deeply rooted misunderstanding that holds millions of men back from achieving what they are truly capable of. The belief that inspiration must arrive before action can begin. This idea is not just wrong. It is dangerous. Success was never designed for people who sit and wait for the perfect emotional state. It belongs entirely to those who have trained themselves to move regardless of how they feel on any given day. The fundamental truth is this: motivation does not create action. Action creates motivation. Most men believe they need to feel ready before they can begin. They hold out for the perfect moment, the ideal window of opportunity, or that internal surge of energy that seems to never actually show up. That chronic hesitation is precisely why so many intelligent, capable men never bridge the gap between potential and achievement. The men who actually win operate from a completely different philosophy. They understand that clarity does not appear before the first step. It appears because of it. Every single action you take opens a door that was completely invisible from a distance. Consider the story of a young man burning with ambition, but trapped inside his own head. He studied, he planned, he strategized endlessly, yet nothing moved. He kept waiting for a moment of inspiration, bold enough to justify beginning. But here is what he never understood. Confidence is not something you receive before starting. It is something you construct through the process of starting. You cannot think your way into success. You must act your way into it one uncomfortable, uncertain step at a time. History does not lie. Thomas Edison did not stand at a laboratory window waiting to feel inspired before experimenting with the light bulb. He failed thousands of times with his sleeves rolled up. Henry Ford did not pause until the automobile market guaranteed him a profit. He acted with total conviction and built an industry from scratch. What defined both of these men was not an extraordinary gift for summoning motivation. It was an extraordinary willingness to move in the complete absence of it. When a man acts, he enters into direct contact with reality in a way that thinking alone will never allow. He discovers what works. He learns what needs adjustment. Each step forward eliminates one layer of doubt and replaces it with knowledge. Meanwhile, the man who keeps waiting spirals deeper into overthinking, self-doubt, and stagnation. The greatest hurdle is always the first step. The initial resistance, whether in business, fitness, relationships, or creative work, can feel absolutely overwhelming. But the moment you push through that wall, momentum takes over. The mind rewards movement with clarity. What once felt impossible begins to feel inevitable. Picture a salesman frozen before making his first sales call. Fear has him paralyzed at his desk. But the second he forces himself to dial, something extraordinary happens. The fear starts to shrink. His voice steadies. By the third call, by the 10th call, the entire process has transformed. He did not wait for motivation to show up. He acted, and motivation followed faithfully behind him. This principle works without exception for the entrepreneur who launches before everything is perfectly aligned, for the writer who begins before inspiration strikes, for the speaker who walks onto the stage while still terrified. They succeed not because they felt ready, but because they refused to allow inaction to write their story for them. 2, dismantling fear and self-doubt. Fear is the most cunning enemy of progress. It positions itself right at the entrance of every meaningful pursuit, whispering poisonous questions directly into your mind. What if I fall short? What if I am simply not cut out for this? These whispers plant seeds of hesitation that grow into walls if you allow them to. But here's what you need to understand about fear. It is a professional liar. The overwhelming majority of what we dread never actually materializes. And even in the rare cases where things do go wrong, failure is never the end of the road. It is simply one more step on the path toward something greater. Every man you admire who has achieved something significant has failed far more times than he has succeeded. The distance between those men and the ones who remain frozen in place comes down to a single factor. They refuse to allow fear to control their movement. They understood at a deep level that real progress is born from action, not from thinking about action. The first step is always the most difficult, but it is also the most important step you will ever take. That single act of moving forward, despite fear, is the defining line between achievers and dreamers. Fear does not disappear when you ignore it. It grows. It thrives in uncertainty and feeds off every day you hesitate to confront it. But the moment you actually move toward what frightens you, its grip begins to loosen. That is because courage was never the absence of fear. Courage is making the decision to act while fear is still present. When you honestly examine the worst possible outcome of any situation, you will find almost every time that you could handle it. Human beings are dramatically more resilient than they give themselves credit for. Most failures can be recovered from. Most mistakes can be corrected. And even when things go genuinely wrong, the experience delivers lessons that fund your future success. Fear feeds hungrily on procrastination. The longer you delay, the stronger it becomes. This is why hesitation and fear are perfect partners. Your mind takes imagined consequences and inflates them to monstrous proportions, making them feel impossible to overcome. The only antidote that actually works is immediate action. Even the smallest consistent action begins dissolving fear piece by piece. Every step you take forward, regardless of how modest, chips away at the illusion that fear has constructed around you. Fear is like a wall that appears impenetrable from a distance. But as you approach it, you begin to notice the cracks. And once you start climbing, you realize the wall was never as high as it appeared. Edwin C. Barnes provides one of the most compelling examples of what happens when a man refuses to let fear write his story. Barnes had an obsessive desire to work alongside Thomas Edison, with no money, no contacts, and no obvious pathway to make it happen. He had only a vision and a determination that could not be shaken. Rather than letting circumstances stop him, he boarded a freight train, arrived at Edison's office, and boldly announced his intention to become a business partner. He was given a modest entry-level position at first, but he never released his dream. Years later, when his opportunity finally surfaced, Barnes seized it immediately and became a central figure in Edison's business empire. His story is undeniable proof that fear surrenders its power the moment it is confronted with decisive, committed action. 3. Eliminating procrastination at the root. How many times have you promised yourself that tomorrow is the day? How often has that tomorrow quietly become next week, then next month, then an entire year later with nothing to show for it? The perfect moment you have been holding out for does not exist. It never did. The sooner you accept this reality, the sooner you reclaim full control over the direction of your life. Procrastination is a master of disguise. It presents itself as careful preparation, healthy perfectionism, or simply the reasonable need for better conditions. You convince yourself that you need more time, more knowledge, or more confidence. But every delay reinforces the habit of inaction, and the longer you wait, the steeper the climb becomes. The escape route is simple. Take action now. Imperfect, messy, uncertain action. One real step forward is worth infinitely more than 1,000 flawless intentions that never leave your head. Begin with the 5-minute rule. Commit to working on a task for just 5 minutes, nothing more. No pressure, no grand expectations. Once you actually begin, momentum takes over and carries you forward far beyond those initial 5 minutes. The hardest part of any meaningful pursuit is the launch. Once you push past that opening resistance, the entire process gains traction and becomes progressively easier. Discipline, however, is non-negotiable. Distractions in today's world are engineered to capture your attention and hold it hostage. Social media platforms, notification floods, and infinite entertainment designed to keep you passive and disengaged. If you do not consciously manage your environment will manage you. Set firm deadlines. Decompose large goals into specific, manageable daily tasks. Choose consistency over perfection every single time. Small, focused daily efforts compound with remarkable power over time, building results that would seem impossible when viewed from the starting point. Accountability is one of the most underused tools available to you. Tell someone specific what you plan to accomplish. Write your commitments down. Track your actual progress against your stated intentions. When you make a real commitment to yourself and to another person, you create a layer of responsibility that makes it significantly harder to justify quitting. The gap between people who succeed and people who stagnate is almost never talent. It is the willingness to take action without waiting for the perfect emotional state or perfectly ideal conditions. Time is the one resource that can never be recovered. Every moment spent waiting for conditions to align is a moment permanently gone. Your future is being constructed right now, shaped by every choice you make and every action you take or avoid. The only time that actually belongs to you is this present moment. Stop waiting. Stop planning without executing. Take the first step today. Imperfect, uncertain, and incomplete as it may be, because action beats inaction in every situation without exception. 4. Building unshakable self-discipline. Discipline is not about manufacturing suffering for yourself. It is about training yourself to win consistently. It is a mindset, a serious commitment to personal excellence, and an unwavering belief in your own capacity to persist through anything. Every time you show up for yourself, especially when you do not feel like it, you prove that you are someone who can be trusted. That self-trust builds genuine confidence, and genuine confidence fuels the kind of success that lasts. The purpose of discipline is not to make your life harder. It is to build the habits and patterns that lead you directly to victory. The first time you voluntarily step into discomfort, it feels nearly unbearable. Every instinct tells you to retreat, to seek comfort, to return to familiar ground. But if you resist that pull, if you push through even when every part of you wants to stop, you begin rewiring your entire mental landscape. You are literally reshaping how your brain responds to challenge. Over time, what once felt impossible transitions into second nature. You develop the kind of mental toughness that turns obstacles into stepping stones rather than stopping points. Discipline does not care about your mood. It does not care whether you feel inspired or energized. It is a deliberate decision to take the necessary action whether you feel like taking it or not. You do not negotiate with your emotions. You do not wait until you feel sufficiently motivated. When the alarm sounds, you get up. When work is required, you work. When challenges appear, you face them without flinching. Success is not constructed from motivation. It is constructed from consistency. Anyone can feel motivated for a few days or even a few weeks. But what carries you forward when that initial excitement fades, when the honeymoon phase ends and the daily grind sets in, is discipline. It is not the grand dramatic gestures that build great lives. It is showing up day after day, even when progress feels invisible, even when no one is watching, even when you are tired and uninspired. The men who ultimately achieve their goals are rarely the most talented people in the room. They are the ones who simply refuse to stop. Discipline is a muscle. The more consistently you use it, the stronger it becomes. Start small. Honor the commitments you make to yourself. Get up when you say you will. Execute the work even when motivation is absent. These small, consistent acts of self-discipline accumulate over time into something extraordinary. A deep, unshakable trust in yourself. And once you genuinely trust yourself at that level, your potential becomes limitless. 5, transforming pain into rocket fuel. Pain is one of the most powerful forces available to you. It has the capacity to either break you completely or build you into something formidable, and the deciding factor is entirely your choice. When adversity arrives, and it always does, you face two options: surrender to the weight of your suffering or rise above it stronger than you were before. Pain itself is unavoidable, but personal growth in response to pain is never guaranteed. It requires a conscious decision. The way you respond to life's most difficult moments determines the entire trajectory of your existence. You can allow setbacks to turn you bitter, or you can use them strategically to make yourself better. Every person you genuinely admire has experienced rejection, loss, and devastating failure. No one reaches any meaningful level of success without carrying scars from real battles. What separates those who make it from those who do not is straightforward. They never allowed pain to halt their forward movement. Instead, they used it as fuel. Pain became the fire that forged them into something more capable and more determined. It sharpened their thinking, strengthened their character, and hardened their resolve. When others crumbled under pressure, they rose. The next time life forces you down, do not accept the ground as your permanent address. Get back up. Rise with renewed ferocity. Let pain push you toward becoming sharper, stronger, and more relentless than you were before the impact. Growth does not live in comfort. It never has. Pain forces evolution. It stretches you beyond the boundaries you believed were fixed and shatters the illusion of safety that complacency creates. The most lasting lessons of your life will emerge from struggle, not from ease. Pain carves wisdom directly into your soul, shaping you into the version of yourself you were always meant to become. Discomfort is the actual birthplace of transformation. When pain is present, transition is occurring. In those moments, the critical decision must be made. Will you allow this pain to consume you, or will you channel and direct it? Most people instinctively run from difficulty, but the wisest men understand that pain is an ally disguised as an enemy. When you learn to genuinely embrace hard times rather than fleeing from them, you develop an edge over everyone who shrinks from difficulty. You become, in the truest sense, unshakable. 6. Defining goals with surgical precision. Without clearly defined goals, you are not moving forward. You are simply drifting. Life without goals is like navigating open ocean without a compass. You may cover enormous distance, but you will never arrive anywhere meaningful. Goals provide direction, purpose, and a concrete target to pursue. They deliver clarity in an environment saturated with distractions, ensuring that every action you take moves you measurably closer to the life you are actively working to build. But having goals is only the starting point. You must define them with absolute precision. Vague aspirations like wanting to be successful or wanting to be happy possess no structural integrity. They cannot support any meaningful plan of action. Instead, craft goals that are specific, measurable, and time-bound. Ask yourself exactly what you want to achieve, by precisely when and how you will measure whether you are making real progress. The sharper your definition, the more navigable your path forward becomes. Once your goals are clearly defined, break them into concrete, executable steps. A large vision, viewed as a single unit, can feel paralyzing in its scale, but when deconstructed into smaller daily and weekly actions, it transforms into something genuinely achievable. Each completed step generates momentum, converting what once seemed impossible into an unfolding reality. The single most critical factor in goal achievement, however, remains action. Without consistent action, goals are nothing more than wishes, pleasant thoughts that dissolve over time. Take deliberate action every single day, regardless of how small that action might be. Consistency compounds with remarkable power. Write your goals down. This straightforward act alone dramatically strengthens commitment and sharpens mental clarity. Studies have consistently demonstrated that people who write their goals down are significantly more likely to actually reach them. Perfection is one of the most effective killers of real progress. Countless men hesitate to take action because they are terrified of doing it imperfectly. But success is never about being flawless. It is about persistence, adjustment, and forward movement. Focus relentlessly on progress rather than perfection. Learn from every setback. Adjust your approach when required. Keep moving regardless. Accountability serves as another essential pillar of achievement. Track your efforts honestly, measure your actual results, and remain truthful with yourself about what is working and what needs to change. Personal responsibility is the trait that separates those who achieve from those who only dream about it. Celebrate every small win along the way. Each milestone reached is concrete proof that your plan is working, and acknowledging that progress reinforces the positive habits that build lasting success. 7, forging an unbreakable mental foundation. Your mindset is not simply one factor among many in your pursuit of success. It is the foundation on which everything else is built. It determines whether you rise to meet challenges or collapse under their weight. A fragile mindset is like a structure built on unstable ground. It cannot withstand pressure, it fractures under stress, and it fails precisely when strength is most needed. But a genuinely strong mindset does not just survive adversity. It grows stronger because of its growing for personal development, rather than a reason to surrender. Life will test you with predictable ruthlessness. Setbacks, failures, and unexpected hardships will appear. A fragile mindset interprets these as confirmation that success is beyond reach. A strong mindset reframes them as education. When failure strikes, it does not break you, it teaches you. It exposes specific weaknesses that need attention and identifies strategies that require refinement. The men who consistently win in life are not the ones who find ways to avoid failure altogether. They are the ones who actively embrace it, extract every lesson available, and return stronger than before. Your thoughts are not passive observers of your life. They are the architects of your reality. When you repeatedly tell yourself that you cannot do something, you construct a self-fulfilling prophecy. When you choose to believe in your capacity to overcome, you unlock reserves of strength and resilience you did not know existed. A growth mindset is the most powerful competitive advantage available to high performers. It views every situation as containing potential. It does not treat personal abilities as permanent or fixed, but as qualities that can be developed and expanded through deliberate effort and learning. People who adopt this mindset are perpetually improving, constantly evolving, and genuinely unsatisfied with stagnation. They seek out challenges because they understand that struggle produces strength. Strengthening your mindset requires conscious, consistent effort, feeding it the right thinking, surrounding yourself with people and content that elevate your perspective, and eliminating toxic influences without mercy. The company you keep, the content you consume, and the words you use to describe yourself all shape your mental state at the deepest level. Ultimately, success is not reserved for the most talented or most gifted individuals. It belongs to those who build the mindset to persist, who keep advancing past every obstacle, who rise after every fall, and who refuse to give up when the path becomes genuinely difficult. 8, engineering your environment for success. You become a composite of the people you spend the most time with. This is not a motivational phrase. It is a documented psychological reality with direct consequences for your personal growth, your professional trajectory, and your overall quality of life. The individuals you choose to surround yourself with exert a continuous, powerful influence over your mindset, your habits, and the daily decisions you make. Position yourself among people who push you to be better, and rising becomes nearly inevitable. Human beings are profoundly social creatures, deeply shaped by the energy, attitudes, and behavioral patterns of those in their immediate environment. When you immerse yourself in a circle of individuals who genuinely inspire, challenge, and hold you accountable, you naturally begin adopting their traits. These people raise the bar for what you expect from yourself. They push you beyond the edges of your comfort zone, force you to confront your real limitations, and in doing so compel you to surpass them. Negativity, however, is equally contagious and equally powerful. Surrounding yourself with individuals who constantly complain, blame their circumstances, or avoid personal responsibility will gradually rewire your thinking in dangerous ways. Excuses begin to feel normal. Mediocrity starts to feel acceptable. Without consciously realizing what is happening, you begin justifying inaction rather than pursuing growth. The accumulating weight of that negativity anchors you in place and prevents you from ever reaching your real potential. Your environment is not a passive backdrop to your life. It is an active force shaping who you are becoming. Every conversation, every shared experience, and every consistent interaction imprints itself on your subconscious mind. If you want to genuinely elevate your life, you must first deliberately elevate your circle. Seeking out mentors accelerates this process enormously. A mentor who has already walked the path you are working to navigate possesses the hard-won wisdom, experience, and insight that can compress years of painful trial and error into months of targeted progress. A great mentor challenges your thinking, forces you to operate on a larger scale, equips you with the tools necessary for your specific journey, and holds you personally accountable for executing what you learn. Beyond mentorship, actively and intentionally build relationships with people who demand more from you, who push you when quitting feels tempting, who remind you of your commitments when your focus wavers, and who genuinely celebrate your victories when you achieve them. Audit your relationships with honest eyes. Identify clearly who adds measurable value to your life and who drains it. Be decisive in removing toxic influences. Be equally intentional in building meaningful connections. Your success is directly proportional to the quality of your inner circle. Choose that circle like your future depends on it, because it does. 9, taking complete ownership of your time. Time is the only resource that cannot be manufactured, borrowed, or recovered once spent. Every second that passes is gone permanently, yet the overwhelming majority of men squander this finite and irreplaceable asset on distractions, trivial tasks, and meaningless consumption, often without fully recognizing what they are losing. If success is the genuine objective, total control over how every hour is allocated is not optional. It is foundational. Most people who claim they lack sufficient time are not experiencing a shortage of hours. They are experiencing a failure to manage the hours they already have. The world's most accomplished individuals do not possess more time than you. They simply extract dramatically more value from the same 24 hours everyone receives. Mastering time begins with honest awareness. Track where your time actually goes across a full week. The results are almost always revealing and frequently uncomfortable. Enormous portions of the day routinely vanish into trivial tasks, unnecessary meetings, and engineered digital distractions. Identifying these patterns is the prerequisite to reclaiming your schedule. Once you understand precisely where your time is leaking, eliminate everything that does not actively move you toward your most important goals. Develop the discipline to say no clearly and without apology to commitments that serve other people's agendas while consuming the energy you need for your own priorities. Stop allowing your day to simply happen to you. Begin each morning with a clear, deliberate plan of action built the night before. Define your priorities before distraction can define them for you. Break significant goals into specific daily tasks that guarantee consistent forward movement while preventing the kind of overwhelm that leads to paralysis. Technology, while genuinely useful, has become one of the most sophisticated and effective sources of time destruction ever created. Social media platforms, notification systems, and algorithmically curated entertainment are specifically engineered to capture your attention and hold it as long as possible at the direct expense of your productivity and your goals. If digital distraction regularly pulls you off course, set firm boundaries around your screen time, disable non-essential notifications, and schedule dedicated blocks of deep, focused, uninterrupted work. Protecting your time from external intrusion is one of the highest leverage habits you can develop. Discipline is the bridge between your current position and where you intend to go. Commit to your schedule with the same seriousness you would commit to any other non-negotiable obligation. Set deadlines and honor them. Time management is ultimately not about productivity in the abstract. It is about purpose. Every minute you invest in work that genuinely matters is a step closer to the specific life you are building. Your future is being determined right now by how you allocate the hours of today. The clock runs continuously. Make every second earn its place. 10. Using failure as a precision instrument. Failure is not the opposite of success. It is an essential and unavoidable component of the path toward it. The most accomplished individuals in recorded history have failed far more times than most people ever attempt anything. Their resilience, their persistence, and their consistent willingness to extract lessons from failure are precisely what distinguished them from everyone who quit. Every single failure contains a lesson, an opportunity to grow, and a specific signal pointing toward necessary adjustments in approach. Too often, men treat failure as a final verdict on their potential, a definitive judgment that they are not capable or not worthy. In reality, failure is feedback. It is a sophisticated elimination process that identifies what does not work so that you can progressively discover what does. The only genuine failure in any endeavor is the decision to quit before extracting the knowledge that the setback was offering. One of the primary drivers of failure avoidance is the fear of public judgment. Society tends to broadcast and celebrate success stories while quietly ignoring the years of struggle, setback, and failure that made those stories possible. This selective presentation creates a severely distorted picture of achievement, one that makes failure appear to be an aberration rather than the universal constant it actually is. Every great inventor, entrepreneur, artist, and leader has encountered serious setbacks. The variable that determines outcomes is not whether failure occurs. It is how the person responds when it does. The men who ultimately succeed analyze their failures with clear eyes, adapt their strategies with honest thinking, and persist without losing forward momentum. Rather than wearing failure as a mark of shame, treat it as a badge of genuine effort. Proof that you stepped outside your comfort zone and took a real risk in pursuit of something meaningful. The capacity to recover from failure and continue moving forward builds a specific kind of resilience that no other experience can provide. When you genuinely accept and embrace failure as a necessary part of the process, you become more adaptable, more capable, and better prepared for future challenges at every level. Growth lives in discomfort. Success is not constructed from an absence of mistakes. It is constructed from the intelligent application of what those mistakes teach. The more often you are willing to fail, the faster you learn. The faster you learn, the faster you succeed. The critical shift is in how you frame failure. When it is seen as an essential instrument of progress rather than a source of discouragement, it loses its power to stop you. History is rich with proof. Edison's thousands of failed experiments before the light bulb, and the countless other figures who converted repeated failure into enduring achievement. If the most impactful people in history failed repeatedly on the road to greatness, the question is not whether failure will find you. The question is whether you will use it or allow it to use you. 11. Making the decision that changes everything. This is the moment. Right now, as you are reading this, you are holding a choice in your hands. You can continue waiting, hesitating, and generating new reasons why today is not the right day. Or you can make the decision that today is the day everything shifts, the day you stop talking about action and start taking it. No more waiting for conditions to align. No more negotiating with doubt. Just deliberate, committed movement in the direction of the life you actually want. Success does not arrive through wishing, hoping, or careful planning that never leads to execution. It is built exclusively through consistent, imperfect daily effort backed by genuine persistence. Dreams remain dreams until they are powered by action. Millions of capable men spend entire lifetimes waiting for the right moment to begin, and that moment never arrives because it was never coming. The path forward begins with a single step, taken now, regardless of readiness. The truth is stark and should be confronted directly. There will never be a perfect moment to start. Conditions will never be 100% ideal. The men who achieve meaningful things are not the ones who waited for certainty. They are the ones who moved forward despite uncertainty, despite fear, and despite the discomfort of not having all the answers. They built confidence not by waiting for it to materialize, but by acting in its absence and watching it grow from the results. Confidence is constructed through the repeated proof that you can begin, persist, and adjust. You do not need the complete picture before taking the first step. You need only to begin and trust that the path will become visible as you walk it. Action generates momentum, and momentum transforms what felt impossible into what feels inevitable. Procrastination does not simply delay success. It actively destroys potential. Every day spent waiting is a day that cannot be reclaimed. Every hour surrendered to hesitation is an hour that could have been compounding toward your goals. Do not allow hesitation to rob you of what you are genuinely capable of building. Push past the excuses. Push past the doubt. Push past the fear, push past the fear, because fear will always be present, but it loses every shred of its power the moment you act despite it. Recognize clearly what you are actually capable of. You have the full capacity to change your life, to rewrite your narrative, and to construct the future you have been imagining. But all of it, every single piece, begins with action. Make the decision right now that from this moment forward, you will not be stopped. Commit to showing up for yourself every day without negotiation. Motivation will come and go like weather. Discipline and consistent action are what carry you through the days when nothing feels possible. Your future is being shaped by what you choose to do with this exact moment. The time is not coming. The time is now.